For some context, I'll break down my situation a little bit. I am a mid-20s woman who lives at home with her older mother. I love her more than words can explain, and I would do anything for her, but I'm reaching my breaking point. She always had very high expectations for me. She pushed me to go to college, and she allowed me to live rent-free with her until I got my degree. I will forever cherish that with all of my heart. However, it has been constant years of emotional abuse, and I can't take it anymore. I graduated recently, but I'm still afraid to get out into the world. I always had this thought in the back of my mind that I belong here with her. I always dreamt of taking care of her as her old age begins to deteriorate her health and well-being. She is all I have. However, it's getting to the point where I can't take the pain anymore. She wants to control every aspect of my life. She flips out if I stay out late, and she gets furious if I ignore her plethora of texts and calls. Some of these texts read along the lines of, "You're being a witch right now. I know you're with someone who just wants to use you. You can't even answer your own mother. You should go live with that person that is so much more important than me." I ignore these messages and calls because they are BS. Some days, I will just be eating out after work, or I will catch a concert and want to enjoy it. I don't bother replying because she is a buzzkill and she never believes me anyways. I come home, and hell breaks loose. She treats me like I am a literal child and shames me when I haven't even done anything of that sort. It breaks my heart when she says she wants me out of the house and how I am just in her way. I am her only child, and I always want to be there for her, but I can't take this anymore. I can't do anything right. I work, but I don't get paid enough to have a place of my own. It's getting to the point where I rather struggle than deal with this any longer because I've dealt with it for so long, even while I was in college. I was never allowed to have sleepovers or stay out past 12. I had to sneak around at 25 years old just to do normal things like go on cute dates or meet up with friends. At some point, I thought it was worth it as long as I could see the day I could be there for her because nobody else is available. Now that she's saying I'm in her way and I'm useless and spoiled, I want to cry. Really. I tried so hard to be a good daughter, but the minute I want a little bit of freedom, she goes crazy. She goes crazy. She says it's her house and her rules, and I need to comply with her control freak tendencies. I drank a little at the bar one day, and she started calling me an alcoholic even though she drinks at the family parties every single time. She brings up my suicide attempts and self-harm every chance she gets. One time, she playfully hit me a little too hard, and I reacted. I said, "Ow, stop." She goes, "Oh, so you can slit your wrists, but you can't take a playful tap. I'm so tired of your attitude. If you don't want to be around me that bad, get the F out of my house. The door is wide open." She flipped out when I got 3 tiny tattoos and said she will kick me out if I get more. I told her I don't want kids ever, and she told me to not get a hysterectomy while she is alive, as if having this bloody part is gonna open any doors whatsoever. I was in a serious car accident, which was her fault when I was a child, and it made me really scared to drive. Now, she calls me the RS slur just because I am scared. If I run to my room to write a little after work to unwind, she throws a fit and says, I never spend time with her. I wonder why. I am never at peace here. I am at my wit's end. I just need someone to tell me I'm not a piece of crap for wanting to leave. I feel so guilty knowing I'm starting to hate her. I'm dreading even being her caregiver one day because she will not let me grow up or stop throwing the past in my face. I feel so lost. I don't know what to do anymore. When I comply with her shitty rules, we're best friends. She cooks amazing meals. She helps me with my laundry when I'm too busy at work to earn from my savings. She buys me nice things she believes I need, and she sends me very sweet messages throughout the day at work. I wish we can just be healthy like that all the time with me having some autonomy. I can't even have a boyfriend without her getting invasive saying he ripped my pantyhose, and it's so obvious when my pantyhose will be in their literal pristine condition. I don't know what to do. I know if I leave, this might estrange our relationship even more. I just can't do this anymore. I feel so lost and alone in the world because I quite literally have nobody else, and that's mainly because I was never able to form or maintain healthy, loving friendships. This happened a few decades ago when I was a wee lad of 11. Yeah, I'm old. Backstory. Dad was an English professor and also raised horses, Arabians to be specific. We lived in the Midwest on a 10-acre spread next to cattle ranches and such. Dad was the kind of guy who taught me to try to be kind, never swear in front of a lady, open doors for people, etc., etc. Most of those things stuck with me throughout my life, except for the swearing. One day, a Saturday I believe, a couple of local girls around 12 came over and rang the bell. Dad answered the door, and they asked if they could ride our horses. Of course, he politely said no, he couldn't do that and closed the door. Imagine the liability issues if they fell off and hurt themselves. Also, Arabians tend to be high-strung and not too accommodating to inexperienced riders, except for a couple we owned who were total patient sweethearts. And that was that, right? Nope, or I wouldn't be posting this. Not more than a half hour later, the doorbell chimes again. I'm in the living room watching TV with Dad, and he answers the door. Standing on our front porch are those two girls again, and someone who I took to be the entitled Nana, E-N for short. Dad? Hello, what can I do for you? The entitled Nana. My granddaughters would like to ride your horses. Dad, clearly puzzled. I can't do that. The entitled Nana. You don't even have to pay them much. Dad, what? The entitled Nana. For exercising your horses. They'll do it for $2 an hour. Pretty cheap if you ask me. Dad, clearly holding in his temper. I'm sorry, ma'am, but that isn't happening. I have to decline. The entitled Nana. But your horses can use the exercise and we have the time. Dad, this is not a discussion. Then he does something I've never seen before. Closes the door in the entitled Nana's face mid-retort. I'm standing there dumbstruck, and Dad is staring off in space. Slowly he says, "What the F?" If monkeys starting climbing out of his booty wouldn't have been more surprised. Dad slowly turns and sees my 11-year-old self standing there with my mouth open. He gives a sheepish grin and says, "Please don't tell your mother." He took me out for Dairy Queen later on, and I've been holding on to this for over 40 years. He's gone now, but I feel him laughing over my shoulder as I write this. I figured I should post this story since a lot of my friends and chosen family can't believe how this person acted. Now, a little backstory about me. I found out when I was 18 that I was adopted by my grandparents, and that my birth mother was the reason why I have had these health issues since birth. What I was told, she was a heavy drug addict and drank alcohol a lot while pregnant with me. A couple of years after I was told, I still saw my adopted mom as the only mother figure I will ever have. I did try to find more information out of curiosity since I had other siblings, but I struggled to find them and gave up. Eventually, I received a random message on a social media platform, and they claimed to be my younger sister and that they'd been trying to find my father, aka my grandpa, for years and would like to get together. After asking specific questions, we realized that this wasn't a scammer and it was who they claimed they were. It all went well for the first 5 months of us all interacting and having visits, but after that, she begged my father to live with us, claiming that the younger sibling of mine wanted to be alone with her fiancé, etc. Well, she was soon moved in and it went okay at first, but she immediately started to overstep and acted like she was the head of the household. She would throw fits if I didn't clean up after her or do all the chores on my own in the house. Granted, I didn't mind, but the apartment we were in at the time was big and there were 5 adults in the house. Well, she didn't like that I kept talking back, when all I would want is to meet in a middle ground. Eventually, we tried to just keep everything separated. I had to handle my half of the apartment, and she had her on the opposite side, and the dishes we each used will need to be washed. We even separated groceries, which was the first time I had to even get any support in this from social services. Not even 3 months in, and she started to complain to the landlord about the situation. Now, why the landlord, you ask? Well, because she was really good friends with my family and my birth mother knew this. I will give her little props for trying to help us meditate on the family issues. But my birth mother always overstepped and even tried to act like I should treat her like she was always here all these years. She knew that I was never comfortable with calling her mom or seeing her in that light from day one, that my adopted mom was mom to me, and no one else was ever going to take her place. Regretfully, my past was always used against me in these situations with the landlady. She never saw the things I improved on since being in my teens. To put some perspective, I was a rebellious teen, and with having to deal with bullying in school which led to physical violence, I became very suicidal and had severe depression on top of unresolved trauma from the issue that had occurred back in New York City in 2001. I'm not going to name it here since I understand the triggers. My family was living very close proximately of the incident, and despite being little, I remember a lot from that day and the days after that. Anyhow, the landlady said she is tired of these issues always happening and she is exhausted of me not getting along with my birth mother. If I couldn't get along with her, well, I was being kicked out. Not long after my conversation with her, she called me and told me to get out. She had spoken to the birth mother and said that I wasn't doing any progress. Thanks to some of my chosen family, I was able to secure a couple of days at a motel nearby to figure things out from there. This incident showed me how cruel a blood family can be. It sometimes makes me sick to know that I have her blood in my veins. And before anyone asks, yes, my father tried to interfere, but I swear she played her victim card and manipulated my poor dad in her favor. This had happened a few years ago now, and I'm in a better place, and she's long gone now. I just figured I'd post this since she radiated entitled parent behavior. If anyone has ever been in a situation like I was, please don't submit yourself to do what you are told to keep the peace. Whenever you have a safe space to go, leave as soon as you can, and you'll live a happier life. And don't be afraid to cut people out of your life. It hurts, and it will feel lonely, but your mental health will thank you for it. Okay, for backstory, my mom is very close with the mother of one of her ex-boyfriends. My siblings and I are very close with her, and we see her as our grandmother. I contemplated living with my dad many times because my mother is a very toxic person and is hell to live with, but my grandmother let us move in with her last month, and things have been much more peaceful since. Yesterday, my grandmother took my brother and I to the grocery store, and when we were coming back, she went to check the mail. When she opened the mailbox, she saw some brown recluse spiders, and she told us to stay out of the mailbox until she could have someone get rid of them. She told my mom about it as well when we went into the house, and my mom responded showing that she understood not to go into the mailbox. This morning, while I was helping my grandma clean the garage, my mom opened her side of the garage like she always does, but this time she wasn't in her car, which I thought was extremely unusual. I immediately noticed an envelope just barely in her hand, and before I could ask her where she'd gotten it, my mom immediately threw it to the ground towards my grandmother and I. This big brown recluse spider began running around the garage toward my mom. My mom opened the door to the house in an effort to run away, and the spider ran in the living room. After the spider was out of sight and we'd all stopped screaming, I asked my mom why she did that. My mom said she did it because you were so scared, and I'm a grown woman. I can get my mail when I want to in a condescending way. So now we're all sitting in the house terrified because this spider in here, and we don't know where it's at. I don't know a lot about spiders, but I'm pretty sure that spiders are venomous and could harm one of us if bitten. I'm so scared to even leave my room right now. I don't understand what my mom gained from doing that, and I know I'm being overdramatic, but now I don't feel safe living with her because of what just happened.